I'm Stella. I'm here to tell you the second part of my story. I'll do a brief introduction for those who haven't seen the first episode yet. If you'd like to watch that first episode in full, please click on this link right here. I was born with a miraculous trait. Every time I cry, a pearl emerges from my eye. This is why we are really wealthy. My parents try incredibly hard to keep this a secret, but something unexpected happened. My uncle, my aunt, and their daughter Cecilia came to visit us. Cecilia had secretly read my diary and found out that I could cry pearls. Then she told her mom and dad. That night, they kidnapped me and brought me to a house in the middle of the forest. They tried to force me to cry. While they were there, I kept my cool. But I couldn't stop myself from crying when they left me alone. I cried twice, so 2 pearls came out of my eyes. I decided to swallow them both, but just as I popped them into my mouth, Cecilia came in the room. Once she realized I had been crying, she called her parents. I swallowed the pearls instead of handing them over. My uncle went crazy. Just as he was about to attack me, we heard a knock on the door. All of that went down in the first episode. Now I'll continue telling my story right where I left it. Someone was pounding on the door. My uncle whispered with worry, "We're in the middle of a forest. Who is this?" Then he turned to me. "Not a peep from you or this will end badly," he whispered as he left the room. My aunt and Cecilia were waiting anxiously. From what I could gather, the person at the door was someone my uncle knew. He seemed very surprised when he asked, "Why are you here?" The person who arrived laughed and replied, "My sister called me. You weren't thinking about partying without me, were ya?" Cecilia and her mom were relieved because the person who showed up was my aunt's older brother, Walter. I'd seen him only once before. All I could remember was that he was an unpleasant man. When Walter walked in, my aunt said, "Why did you come early? I told you to come tomorrow." Walter said, "The story you told me over the phone got me really excited. I couldn't wait until tomorrow. I just had to see this goose with the golden eggs. I still find it difficult to believe. Is this girl really crying pearls?" She replied, "Yes, she really cries pearls. She just cried 2 of them in a row, but then she swallowed them both." Walter looked at me with a grin. "So, you're a tough cookie. Fantastic. I spent half my life in jail. My specialty is helping people like you find the right path." I began shaking with fear. I almost started tearing up again, but I managed to hold it back. Walter turned to Cecilia. "I need to eat something. I've been driving for 5 hours straight. If my dear niece wants to make her uncle a snack, I won't say no." Cecilia took her uncle's arm. "We picked up some snacks on the way. Nibble on these for now. Soon we'll be eating only at the best restaurants anyway," she said. They were laughing as they left the room. My uncle glared at my aunt. "Why did you call your brother? The man is a total pain in the neck. He shouldn't have known about this." She said, "You do realize that we kidnapped someone, right? Do you think we can hide in this house forever? We need to get out of the country right away. Walter will help us cross the border. We should head over to Mexico first, and from there, we can go wherever we want, as long as we have this no-limit credit card with us." Walter and Cecilia came back grinning. Cecilia was holding half an onion. She said, "We had a brilliant idea," and held the onion up to my face. "How about a crying sash, my dear cousin? We found an easy way to make you cry." When my eyes welled up, they all got really excited. I grimaced. "Can you get that away from my face, please? I need to cry naturally for the pearls to form. That onion is only good for stinking up this room." My aunt screamed as if she had the best idea ever. "Cecilia, pull up a sentimental song. You remember that song that always makes me cry? Oh, what is it called?" "I'm not a crybaby like you," I said to her. "No song or movie can make me cry." "But some of the songs I can sing can make you cry," Walter said, baring all of his teeth. They laughed. Walter continued in a calm voice. "You don't have to worry. I'll take care of this tough girl. But first, let's drink up. We are in possession of a goose that lays golden eggs. We have to celebrate that." Walter's words worked. They were in a good mood as they left the room. I laid down, feeling desperate. This Walter guy looked dangerous indeed. I had to find a way to get out of here, but I couldn't think of anything. I ended up falling asleep while I tried to think of something. All of a sudden, I woke up to the sound of the door slamming. I saw Walter when I finally managed to get my eyes open. He was yelling, "Get up! Now! We're leaving!" I was so sleepy that I couldn't figure out what exactly was going on. "Where are we going?" I asked. Walter got mad and said, "I told you to get up now! We need to get going! You didn't expect me to leave you to those amateurs, right? You belong to me now. I'll make you cry all the time and you'll give me thousands of pearls till the day I die." I was still having a hard time understanding what was happening. Walter grabbed my arm and led me out of the room. I looked inside the house. My uncle, aunt, and Cecilia were all lying on the floor. "What did you do to them?" I screamed. "Don't worry, they're sleeping like babies. You know how they slipped some sleeping pills into your milk before they kidnapped you? I said to them, 'You will take 2 of these sleeping pills each, or I'll make you.' So they agreed and drank up." Then Walter pushed me outside. He tied my hands and laid me down in the back seat of the car. It was only then that I figured out what was going on. Now Walter was kidnapping me. Suddenly, I had even more reason to be worried because my uncle and his family were angels compared to this guy. After hours of driving, we finally stopped. Walter got me out of the car, and we were in a place that looked like a garage. There were a lot of cars around and 4 big guys. One of them pointed to a car that was parked right beside me and screamed, "Boss, you love a Mercedes? Look, we got a spectacular one!" Without even looking at the car, he said, "Good job, but from now on, we won't have to steal cars. We'll have so much money on our hands thanks to her." Of course, they had no idea what he was talking about. A guy covered in tattoos said, "Did you go and kidnap a rich guy's daughter for ransom? Then I'm out. Kidnapping is not the same as car theft. You get punished hard for it. I have a family to look after. I can't do time for that long." That got Walter mad. "Shut up, Ryan! You don't know what you're talking about as usual. Yes, she's a rich girl, but I didn't grab her for ransom. You'll find out soon enough and thank me for the rest of your life," he growled. The guy with tattoos wasn't happy, but before he could say anything, Walter shoved me into a room. I'd never felt so scared in my life. I was fighting back tears, but then I couldn't. I started crying. A perfect pearl emerged out of my eye. Walter grabbed it before it fell to the ground. He was looking at it, fascinated. He was also very surprised. He mumbled to himself, "I'd never have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes." Then he looked at me. "You're the best thing that could ever happen to me. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Why should I share it with those idiots outside? You should be crying only for me. All these pearls must be mine," he said. He'd made up his mind. He grabbed my arm and dragged me outside. The men were staring at me in disbelief. Walter sensed that there was something going on. One of them said, "We saw everything from the security camera. Was that a real pearl that came out of the girl's eye?" Then he turned to me. "But how? How can you do that?" he asked. Pulling me towards the car, Walter yelled, "Nah, there's no such thing. That stuff only happens in fairy tales. You saw it wrong." I resisted Walter's pull and stopped him. I yelled back at them, "What you saw was real. I cry pearls. Walter's kidnapping me because he doesn't want to share them with you. Each pearl is worth $25,000. If you stop him, I'll give you 40 pearls each. That makes $1 million per person." They hesitated for a second. Then they looked at each other. The man in tattoos said, "Attack!" All hell broke loose. I stepped aside and watched everything go down. After a while, they tied Walter to a chair. He was out of breath. "I'm your boss. Let me go now. I'll give you 100 pearls each." I laughed. "You might have 100 pearls, but if you get caught, pearls won't help you out in prison. I won't tell the police about you. You can trust me. Every time I cry a pearl, it will go toward my debt to you," I said. Walter was about to say something, but the men put a gag in his mouth to keep him quiet. "You can go now. You'll hear from me soon," I said to them. I took out Walter's phone and called 911. The police arrived shortly after. I asked them, "Will you excuse me for a minute? I'll be back soon." I had to run to an empty room because I was about to shed some happy tears. When I started to cry, the most beautiful pearl that I'd ever seen in my life came out. I put the pearl in my pocket. I owed 160 pearls to the men who saved me, so I had 159 more to go. When I got back, Walter was telling the police, Please believe me, this girl is crying pearls. Let me go. We can all be rich together. The policeman laughed at him. One of them said, "Hey, yeah, and I'm crying diamonds. These guys are getting more and more creative to get themselves out of jail." The policeman had called my parents. Both of them were a mess when they arrived. My mom was crying. "Please don't hug me. Just get me out of here," I said. The police were surprised to see me act this way. Of course, there was a reason for it. If I had hugged my family, I would have immediately started crying, and then they would have realized Walter was telling the truth. I told my parents everything on the way home. I cried a few times as I was telling my story to them, so I got 5 more pearls on the ride home. 154 to go. Currently, we live in a different country. I was against it at first, but my mom said, "We were the only ones who knew your secret until now, but today there are 8 other people who know you cried pearls. We have to do this for your safety. We need to get away from here." I had to agree. I can't tell you where we live now, but I can tell you that we are doing really well. I did pay my debt to those guys that saved me. And because they were mostly happy tears, the pearls that came out were all perfect too. I'm sure they sold them for more than $25,000. Because I owe my life to them, I sent them 10 more pearls each as a bonus. I'm sure you're curious to know what happened to my uncle, aunt, and Cecilia. I really don't know. The last time I saw them was as I was leaving the cabin in the forest. They were sleeping soundly because of the sleeping pills. We never heard from them again. Maybe they got scared of getting caught by the police and fled to Mexico. But life can't be easy for them because I'm not around.